In this video, I'm going to be talking about free software, or what is free software. The free software definition. The free software definition presents criteria for whether a particular software program qualifies as free software. From time to time, we revise the definition to clarify and resolve questions about subtle issues. See history section for below that it changes the yada yada yada. This is the GNU philosophy, free software, right? So you can read this if you want. It's pretty long, and I don't care that it's long. I care that it's a mess. It is a mess. It is it really is a jumbled mess, and so I'm gonna show you my breakdown of it, and yeah. So there we go. Free software is software that respects a user's freedom. The four essential freedoms. A program is free software if the program's users have the four essential freedoms. 1. The freedom to run a program as you wish for any purpose. The freedom to run the program means the freedom to use the program, 1. by any person, 2. on any kind of computer system, 3. for any purpose, 4. without being required to communicate about it, 5. if you disseminate the program to someone else, they are free to run it for their purposes, and you cannot impose your purposes on them. 6. Your freedom to run the program for any purpose does not stop you from making the program run. This does not mean you are entitled to a working program. 7. The freedom to not run a program and or to completely stop that program. So that is the first freedom, the freedom to run the program for any purpose, and all of its sub-freedoms, really. 2. The freedom to study how the program works and change it. These freedoms consist of 1. The source code must be accessible by anyone who wishes. 2. The source code must be viewable by anyone who wishes. 3. The source code must be changeable by anyone who wishes. 4. The source code cannot be obfuscated. 5. You are free to use your changed version of the program in place of the original. 6. You are able to change the program in any way you wish. 7. You are able to delete the entirety or part of the source code if you wish. So that's the second freedom. The third freedom is the freedom to redistribute copies so you can help others, or really just the freedom to redistribute. 1. You can redistribute copies of the software. 2. You can redistribute copies of the software with modifications. 3. You can redistribute copies of the software without modifications. 4. You can redistribute copies of the software without monetary charge. 5. You can redistribute copies of the software with monetary charge. 6. You can redistribute copies of the software to anyone, anywhere. 7. You can publish your changes to the software. 8. You can publish your changes to the software without having to notify or communicate with anyone in any particular way. The fourth freedom is freedom to distribute copies of your modified version to others. 1. You can distribute copies of the software with modifications you made. 2. You can distribute copies of the software with modifications you made with monetary charge. 3. You can distribute copies of the software with modifications you made without monetary charge. 4. You can distribute copies of the software with modifications you made to anyone, anywhere. 5. You can distribute copies of the software with modifications you made without having to notify or communicate with anyone in any particular way. 6. You can distribute copies of the software with modifications you made as binaries. And 7. You can distribute copies of software with modifications you made as executable files. So these, in the broad strokes, are the ideas and the philosophy behind software that respects the user's freedom to have and meet all these things. And I'm sure I'm sure people will say I got it wrong, and that they'll put it down in the comments if enough people watch this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I read through this stuff, and this basically was my interpretation of it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got a few things wrong. Maybe I got nothing wrong. Who knows? But in the broad strokes, this is what free software means: is that you don't have certain restrictions on what you can do with the software. That's what it means to have free software. And yep,